Picture this. You're at a stoplight, and the car next to you looks almost familiar. It's definitely a Chevy. Or wait, is that a GMC? But something's off. There's a badge you've never seen before, a color combination that shouldn't exist, and suddenly you're squinting at the door panel thinking, did I just hallucinate that? Welcome to the twilight zone of automotive history, where major manufacturers released vehicles so rare, so strange, so briefly that even die-hard enthusiasts question whether they were real or just fever dreams from the design department. This isn't about your grandfather's Corvette or that Mustang everyone knows. We're diving into the deep cuts, the footnotes, the weight they actually built that, moments that make car history fascinating. Because here's the truth. For every iconic special edition that gets its own Wikipedia page, there are dozens of bizarre variants that barely made it past the factory gates before vanishing into obscurity. Special editions aren't just about sports cars and muscle machines. Sedans get refined luxury packages with names that sound like vacation destinations. Trucks get appearance kits that make them look ready for war. Even the most mundane economy cars have received commemorative makeovers, homecoming editions, or regional flavors designed to move metal off dealer lots in specific zip codes. Some special editions burn themselves into cultural memory. The Chevy Beretta Indy Pace Car Edition drips with motorsport energy, looking like it was designed specifically to make teenagers dream about speed under stadium lights. Then there are editions so ordinary they only register with insiders, like the Saturn Homecoming Edition, a name that instantly conjures images of community events and brand loyalty campaigns. Wholesome, quiet, and utterly of its moment. Fast forward to today, and the game hasn't changed, just the players. The Toyota GR86 Yuzu Edition, limited to exactly 860 units. The Acura TLX PMC Edition, leaning hard into artisanal craftsmanship and factory floor storytelling. These are modern echoes of an old tradition, making something slightly different so people feel like they're getting something special. But here's where it gets weird. Some special editions weren't just rare. They were time-limited in ways that feel almost cruel. Blink you missed it experiments that appeared and vanished like ghosts. The AMC Concorde in certain configurations barely lasted 2 years. Some Pontiac Grand AM sedans had one-year-only variants that came and went before anyone could properly document them. And that's exactly what we're unpacking today. Forget the famous editions everyone's already heard about. We're going deep into the archives to examine the strangest versions, the obscure nameplates, the packages that make even seasoned gearheads pause and ask, hold on, did that actually exist? Below are some of the most bewildering special editions General Motors ever produced. If you grew up around American trucks in the late 70s, you know the vibe. Everything was big, squared off, and radiated a distinctly Detroit brand of confidence. This was also when GMC started pushing appearance packages, exterior upgrades that made already tough trucks look downright intimidating. Enter the GMC Sarge, a strange character actor you can't forget once you've seen it. This wasn't a mass-market truck. It was exclusively available on the C/K 2500 wideside line, genuine heavy-duty pickups built for towing, hauling, and working, not cruising Main Street on Saturday night. What makes the Sarge special starts with the paint. The body typically wears silver, not some cold, modern metallic, but a thick, substantial silver that catches sunlight with genuine depth. Slashed across, that silver runs a tricolor stripe decal. 3 bands of red, orange, and yellow, like a sunset stretched across steel. It screams American performance aesthetic with just enough flash for the era. From a distance, you immediately know this isn't standard equipment. Forged aluminum wheels wrapped in white letter Goodyear tires. A small detail that's emotionally massive because white letters always made trucks look more expensive, more cared for, more serious. Out back sits Sarge badging. A small signature letting everyone behind you know this is a package you don't see every day. Inside, the Sarge doesn't transform into a luxury lounge, but it has one gloriously weird highlight that's pure late-70s. A factory-integrated CB radio paired with an AM/FM/8 track stereo. If you've ever heard that crackly CB chatter on the highway, you understand the appeal. It's like an analog social network for truck folks, where people share road conditions, weather warnings, police locations, and life stories, all wrapped in that signature static. The Sarge rides on the 2500 series platform, available in 2WD or 4WD, with V8 engine options that prioritized pulling power and durability over refinement. Pure American truck DNA. Unofficial estimates suggest around 1,500 units were built, small enough that spotting one today feels like a minor miracle, yet substantial enough that the legend persists with weight behind it. After GM's 1977 downsizing initiative, everything changed. Full-size cars were no longer the heavy steel fortresses of the early 70s. They became more compact, lighter, more practical, responding to a world that suddenly cared about fuel economy. The Buick LeSabre embodied that shift, moving to the new B-body platform and dropping approximately 700 to 800 pounds. That's not just a number on paper. You feel it instantly in how the car rolls, accelerates, and sips fuel. The Palm Beach name wasn't random. It evokes Florida's sunshine, resort living, coastal highways, and effortless luxury. Not flashy, gold-plated excess, but the kind that whispers, "I know I'm living well." Crucially, this was an official GM edition, not some dealer gimmick. The Palm Beach story was factory-built, intentional, with a complete identity package. Visually, the Palm Beach edition wears antique white base paint that feels clean and upscale, perfect for a coupe parked outside a beachfront hotel. Yellow beige accents add warmth without overwhelming the design, distinct enough that you immediately know this isn't a standard LeSabre Limited. The most memorable detail? The Palm Beach logo placed on the pillar, subtle but unmistakable. Inside, Palm Beach cloth seats in a 55-45 split bench configuration fit American preferences perfectly. People still wanted sofa-like comfort, but with a bit more driver individuality. Thicker carpeting, special wood trim. Details that don't make the car faster, but make every entry feel soft and indulgent, especially compared to post-fuel crisis models that prioritized pure practicality. Mechanically, the Palm Beach edition stays true to LeSabre values. Smooth, durable, built for long-distance cruising rather than stoplight drag races. The standard engine is the Buick 231 V6, a sensible choice for efficiency-minded times, though other options existed. The Pontiac 301 or Buick 350 V8 for buyers who wanted that bigger engine feel. The 3-speed automatic is the kind of transmission you never think about. Just pull the shifter and let the car handle everything. But here's what makes the Palm Beach edition truly strange. Its production number. Not approximately a few thousand. Not around 4,000. Exactly 4,001 units. That one extra car feels like history winking at you. Why didn't they round to a clean 4,000? Why not push to 4,500 for easier marketing? That single extra unit raises more questions than it answers. If earlier editions carried corporate polish, brochures, calculated color schemes, factory-approved ideas, the 1990 Oldsmobile Cutlass Calais Wyoming Centennial Edition is the kind of variant that makes people ask, did this actually exist as a proper edition, or was it just local memory stuck on a metal before drifting away like it never really appeared? Its origin allegedly traces back to Holiday Oldsmobile dealership in Cheyenne. To commemorate the 100th anniversary of Wyoming statehood, this dealership created a simple commemorative package for the Cutlass Calais, tying the car to local pride in the most minimal way possible. What makes this version strange is its near invisibility. There's no unique paint color, no special wheel set, no interior material changes. The identifying marks consist solely of a black pinstripe running along the body and a Wyoming Centennial commemorative decal. From a distance, it's nearly impossible to spot. Driving past, you'd assume it's just a regular car unless you catch it at the perfect angle, in the right light, or stand close enough to actually read the decal. Configuration-wise, it's based on the standard Cutlass Calais, using a 4-cylinder engine rated at roughly 110 horsepower and a 5-speed manual transmission. Just hearing that, you know this is basic transportation, bought for durable, economical commuting, not performance or luxury appeal. And here's what truly makes it a strange edition. It's almost unbelievable rarity. Based on available information, there was only one documented example sitting in a junkyard. One. That's not a production run. That's practically an urban legend. In 1991, Chevrolet radically changed the B-body line's entire aesthetic. The transformation felt like a sharp departure from familiar boxy lines into rounded, soft, full-bodied shapes. People jokingly called it the round whale, and whether it was beautiful or ugly depended entirely on the beholder's eye. The LTZ concept was brilliantly positioned. This was the top-tier, performance-leaning trim before the Impala SS debuted in 1994, made for people who wanted the driving dynamics of a police car without making neighbors think, that guy definitely just retired from the force. From the outside, the LTZ follows a stealth philosophy. No spoiler, no aggressive vents, no loud, shouty decals. It shows just enough signs for sharp eyes, a tasteful chrome exhaust tip, and slightly wider tires. The beauty lies in this. You can drive anywhere without drawing attention. But when you step on the gas, the car responds differently. The most important aspect of the LTZ is mechanical, because it borrowed heavily from the 9C1 police equipment package. This is what makes the LTZ genuinely strange. It's like a civilian car that attended police academy, then returned to everyday life with a tougher foundation underneath. FE 3-sport suspension, bigger brakes, a limited slip differential, and especially that 3.23 rear axle ratio. These sound dry on paper, but on the road, they translate into tighter body control, sharper responses, and better traction under acceleration than any standard Caprice. Engine-wise, the first 2 years, 1991 to 1992, typically featured the 5.0 LV8. Then in 1993, when the 5.7 LV8 became available, it stayed very close to police car spirit, except the output was tuned slightly lower for civilian positioning. Inside, the LTZ has one detail that B-body fans especially love, an analog tachometer. It may sound minor, but for American cars of that era, a tachometer felt like acknowledgement that this car was built for drivers who genuinely cared about RPM and driving dynamics, not just step on it and go. The seats earned praise for exceptional comfort, pure Caprice DNA. You can sit for hours on the highway and still feel fresh, like you're in an armchair that just happens to roll down the road at 70 miles per hour. The LTZ's fate is tragic in exactly the way these knows too much but says too little editions tend to be. Low sales due to high pricing, then complete overshadowing when the Impala SS arrived and stole the entire spotlight. There are claims the car cost around $50,000 when new, though that detail needs verification because it sounds quite high compared to pricing levels of that time. The Wildcat name was once heavyweight in Buick's 1960s history, evoking an era when the brand still enjoyed building cars with performance spirit, thick engine notes, and a confident stance of Detroit's golden age. Just hearing those two words, you could picture a Buick that wasn't only smooth, it had claws. But in the early 90s, the Wildcat story returned in a completely different form, and that's precisely why it belongs on this strange list. It didn't return as an official model line, loudly announced by the factory. Instead, it popped up sporadically as decorative packages that dealers named themselves, installed themselves, and sold themselves region by region. There was no single nationwide standard. Each location did it their own way. One Wildcat differed from another. Same name, different soul. So when discussing the Buick LeSabre Wildcat from 1993 through the late 90s, you're talking about a phenomenon more than a proper edition. On most cars, the Wildcat package usually revolved around easily spotted items. A classic-style padded vinyl roof, a slightly different wheel set to create a more special appearance, and most importantly, a Wildcat badge or decal on the C-pillar. A small statement that this LeSabre is different from that LeSabre. Rather than evoking the 1960s Wildcat's performance feeling, the 90s Wildcat version often felt like a cosmetic layer to make the car look more upscale, newer, more worth the money in a buyer's eyes as they walked the showroom. There's an example from an original 1993 invoice showing the Wildcat package priced at $1,890, a figure substantial enough to prove this wasn't a free throw-in, but a calculated upsell targeting the desire to have something slightly special without switching to a different car. Here's where the strangeness crystallizes. The LeSabre was always built for smoothness and durability, the kind of car you drive long distances without fatigue, better suited to highway miles than hard launches. Placing the Wildcat name on a LeSabre like that feels like sticking a badge from a wilder era onto a calm, grown-up car. It's cognitive dissonance wrapped in vinyl. Finally, we reach the mid-2000s GMC Envoy XL Denali. On paper, it's a midsize SUV with extra room, third-row seating, wearing the Denali badge to compete with rivals pushing family-friendly comfort. Bright chrome grille, heated leather seats, sunroof, and under the hood, a 5.3L Vortec V8, an engine that keeps things smooth while delivering thick pulling power, especially on highways or under load. But the problem started here. To squeeze in that third row, GM had to stretch the body. So rear passengers wouldn't feel cramped. They also raised the roof by nearly 4 inches at the back. Reading the specs, you'd think it was a smart solution. But in real life, that smartness created an awkward shape. The longer body pulled overall proportions out of balance, and the raised rear roofline broke the smooth roof profile, as if someone took a normal SUV and capped an extra piece onto the tail just to make room. The result is an exterior that looks both long and heavy, not as clean and tidy as full-size SUVs designed from the start to carry 3 rows. As weight increases, the V8 prevents it from feeling weak. But the price you pay is fuel consumption, especially in everyday driving. It's the kind of vehicle that makes you think, if it's going to drink gas like this anyway, why not step up to a Yukon and make it worthwhile? Bigger, more imposing, better proportioned, and truly a full-size family SUV. That's the Envoy XL Denali's biggest trap. Its price sat too close to the Yukon. While the Yukon carried a stronger image and more popularity, buyers faced 2 choices, and many picked the one that felt more right with fewer compromises. Its fate was short-lived, just as strange editions often are. It lasted only about 2 model years before disappearing as bigger changes swept through. The story feels even more like a closing chapter when the Oklahoma City plant shut down in 2008. A final period for an entire production era and for the variants GM once experimented with to fill every market gap. And that's where we close the reel on today's film. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you've ever encountered a strange GM version that few people know about in real life, leave a comment and tell me where you saw it, what it was, and what made you realize it wasn't the standard version. Which direction should the next episode take? Civilian undercover-style police cars? Rare, local commemorative packages? GM models that were tested then disappeared? Suggest the topic you want, and I'll pick the best stories to continue with. If you feel this video is worth preserving as a piece of Detroit's memory, hit like and subscribe to the channel so the next time I open another dust-covered garage door, you won't miss it. See you again, everyone. Sonnet 4.5.